The Zeltharian High Council had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across 3 galaxies. They had seen species transcend physical form, watched worlds burn in nuclear fire, and observed the birth of artificial consciousness. In their crystalline forms, they processed information at quantum speeds and experienced existence as pure thought unencumbered by flesh. Fear, to them, was an alien concept, a primitive biological response they had studied but never truly comprehended. Until they met humanity. Commander Thexanal floated in the observation chamber, his crystalline body refracting the starlight streaming through the viewport. Below them, the human research vessel Endeavour hung motionless in space, its crew unaware they were being watched. The Zeltharians had been monitoring human expansion for decades, cataloging their curious behaviors and seemingly irrational decision-making processes. "They are fascinating," whispered Council Member Vrimesh, her harmonic frequency betraying what humans might recognize as curiosity. Their biological limitations should have made them extinct millennia ago, yet they persist. They even thrive. "Observe," Thexnal commanded, directing the Council's attention to the human vessel's starboard section. Their engineering bay has suffered catastrophic failure. Plasma fires burn at temperatures that would instantly vaporize most organic matter. By all logical calculations, they should abandon that section of the ship. Through their advanced sensors, the Zeltharians watched as the human crew frantically worked around the breach. The plasma fire raged like a miniature star, its fury contained only by emergency force fields that flickered ominously with each power fluctuation. Any rational species would evacuate, seal the section, and write off the lost equipment. But humans, the Council had learned, rarely followed rational protocols. "One of them approaches the fire," Vrimesh observed, her tone shifting to something resembling disbelief. Chief Engineer Sarah Chen stood before the inferno, her environmental suit sensors screaming warnings that should have sent any sane being fleeing. Her biometric readings, intercepted by Zeltharian sensors, showed elevated heart rate, increased respiratory function, and massive adrenaline production, clear indicators of what humans called fear. Yet she remained motionless, studying the flame patterns with the intensity of a predator analyzing prey. "Her biological systems are in full distress," reported analyst Kethvox. "Fear responses are at maximum levels. She should be incapacitated by such terror." But Sarah Chen was far from incapacitated. She was calculating. "The plasma manifold is behind that fire." She spoke into her communicator, her voice steady despite the chemical chaos flooding her bloodstream. "If we don't stabilize it in the next 10 minutes, the cascade failure will take out main propulsion. We'll be dead in space." "Sarah, no one can survive that heat," came the captain's voice through the comm. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," she replied, and the Zeltharians detected something in her tone that their translation algorithms struggled to process. It wasn't resignation. It was resolve, forged in the furnace of absolute determination. The Council watched in stunned silence as Sarah began adjusting her suit's settings, rerouting power from non-essential systems to boost thermal protection. The modifications would give her perhaps 30 seconds of protection against the plasma fire's fury, 30 seconds to traverse 20 meters of hell, make the repairs, and return. "This is illogical," Thexanal transmitted to his colleagues. "She experiences fear, we can measure it. Yet she advances towards certain death. How do they function with such contradictory impulses?" Sarah stepped forward. The moment her boot crossed the threshold into the fire, the Zeltharians experienced something unprecedented. As her environmental suit began to smoke and her biometrics spiked to levels that should have induced cardiac arrest, they felt an echo of her terror transmitted through their quantum observation field. For the first time in their evolutionary history, the crystalline beings understood the weight of mortality, the crushing awareness of finite existence balanced on a knife's edge. She walked through fire as if it were merely air. The plasma licked at her suit like hungry serpents, each step a calculation between time, distance, and the precise moment when her protection would fail. Sarah's breathing was ragged, her vision blurring from heat stress, but her hands remained steady as she reached the manifold control panel. 20 seconds. She had 20 seconds before the suit's integrity failed completely. The Zeltharians watched her work with something approaching reverence. Her fingers, already suffering from heat exposure, manipulated controls with surgeon-like precision. Warning lights flashed, alarms screamed, and the fire around her intensified as she rerouted the plasma flow. 10 seconds. Sarah completed the sequence and turned back towards safety. The return journey seemed impossible. The fire had grown more intense, fed by the very systems she had just repaired. Her suit's outer layer was failing, metal components beginning to warp and buckle. 5 seconds. She ran. Not the graceful movement of someone in control, but the desperate sprint of a creature, clinging to life by pure will. Her suit's thermal protection failed just as she cleared the fire's edge and she collapsed to the deck, steam rising from her superheated equipment. But she lived. And more importantly, her ship lived. In the observation chamber, the Zeltharian High Council experienced something that would forever change their understanding of biological life. They had witnessed a being simultaneously experience terror and transcend it, feel fear and use it as fuel rather than allowing it to consume her. "Now I understand," Thexnal whispered, his crystalline form pulsing with new comprehension. "We thought fear was weakness, a flaw in biological design. But for humans, fear is a tool. They feel it fully, completely, and then they choose to act despite it." Vrimesh's harmonic frequency carried notes of something approaching awe. They do not overcome fear by eliminating it. They overcome it by walking through it. The council watched as Sarah's crewmates surrounded her, their relief and admiration evident in their biosignatures. She had saved them all by refusing to let terror dictate her choices. For the first time in their existence, the Zeltharians understood why humanity continued to surprise the galaxy. It wasn't despite their fear that humans accomplished the impossible. It was because of it. Fear gave weight to their choices, meaning to their sacrifice, and power to their resolve. They finally understood why the galaxy should fear humanity, not for their weapons or technology, but for their ability to feel terror and walk forward anyway. The humans had taught immortal beings what courage truly meant.